2016 Honda Pilot, proud partner and official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Welcome to Rogers Center as Blue Jays take the field. It is raining outside. The roof is closed. R.A. Dickey will go to the mound to make his 31st start of the season, looking for his career win number 100. R.A. Dickey has had a great second half of the season. He is 8-3 here at home. This will be his 16th start at home. And Torey Lovullo, the interim manager for the Boston Red Sox, his team went down 6-1 last night. Let's take a look at the lineup for the Boston Red Sox. Mookie Betts top of the order. He's got a hit streak against the Blue Jays. And there's the former MVP, Dustin Pedroia, riding a 7-game hit streak. He had a big game on Wednesday against the Orioles. He hit 2 home runs, drove in 5 runs. He's swinging a hot bat since coming off the disabled list. And David Ortiz, he always hits well against the Blue Jays, including today's starter, R.A. Dickey. He is 9 for 31 with 3 career home runs against R.A. Dickey. Big Poppy swinging the bat well lately.
Yes, he does look really comfortable in the box right now. That's going to be somebody that R.A. Dickey's going to have to concentrate on. Getting ready for that 31st start of the season. That's the most on this club. Even at 40 years old, he's made the most starts for the Blue Jays. He's also closing in on 200 innings pitched. Once again, that'll be the 5th straight season that R.A. would do that. Red Sox very familiar with R.A. This is the 6th start versus the Red Sox this season. He's winless. He's 0-3 versus the Sox this year. Last season, he was 4-0 versus Boston. One good thing, though, he has tossed 6+ innings in 11 straight starts versus the Red Sox.
Defensively behind R.A. Dickey in the outfield, it's Revere Pilar and Bautista. On the infield, Josh Tolley. At third base, Ryan Goins and Cliff Bennington have been terrific up the middle. Chris Colabella makes his 26th start at first base, and Russell Martin catching R.A. Dickey for the first time since August 18th.
With R.A. on the mound, you're going to see a lot of fly balls, and I think Kevin Pillar is going to be very busy and very important this afternoon out in center field. He has had 10 outfield assists. He's only made 2 errors all season long, and he has made highlight reel after highlight reel catches for the Blue Jays this season.
He's had a terrific first full season in the big leagues this year. Dickey is set. Mookie Betts is set to step in. The leadoff man has an 18-game hit streak against Toronto going back to the 5th of September last year. Dickey is set. Martin flashes the sign. Here's the first pitch of the game. Not yet.
Or not. Just wasn't set.
It's a do-over. Grounded sharply to Donaldson. Tested early. 1 up, 1 down on the 1 pitch. Josh Donaldson has been terrific. This is his 139th start at third base.
This is a difficult position to play, I think, here at Rogers Center because of the turf. You never seem to get true hops down at third base. That ball gets to you very quickly. Josh handled that one easily for the first down.
This is Dustin Pedroia. Dickey's ahead of Pedroia, and Dustin fouls it straight back. It's 0-2.
You see that handle right there? That is an axe handle bat, custom made for Pedroia. It's like an axe or a hammer that you would use in your hands. Dustin Pedroia says it feels great.
And Pedroia hammers that ball to the alley in left center, and Pilar bobbled it. Pedroia's headed for third, and there'll be no throw. They lob it back in. The bobble out in center. Pedroia kept his eye on Pilar, and once he bobbled it on the warning track, Pedroia ends up at third.
We'll see how they score that. It might be a double and an error by Pilar in center field. Told you he's going to be pretty busy. One more time. It was a knuckleball down and away. And Pedroia, since he has come off that disabled list, is starting to hit. Right there, bobbled momentarily, and you can see that play right in front of Pedroia, and they have scored that a triple into the alley in left center field.
First triple of the season for Pedroia. And this is Xander Bogaerts. Bogaerts batting .321 for the season. There's a little slow knuckleball that dances in the strike zone.
He's always coming up with something a little bit different, trying to find that edge against batters. You mentioned Bogaerts. He is hot. Second in the American League in hitting, and he likes to hit early in the count.
Oh, what a big strikeout. Dickey threw that one a little harder and gets a huge strikeout with Pedroia at third.
Elevates the knuckleball. And you're right, threw that one a little bit harder. I think he threw that one up there for a reason. So Bogaerts comes up empty, big strikeout.
2 down now. David Ortiz. Ortiz 1 for 4. He had a little squibber off the end of the bat in the 9th inning off of Aaron Sanchez. Drives this one to right. Bautista coming in. Hey, R.A. Dickey pitches around a 1-out triple. And it only takes him 9 pitches. Take a look at the batting order for John Gibbons. Ben Revere, the table setter in the leadoff spot, then Josh Donaldson. He is worn out left-handed pitching, and that's what he's going to see the next 2 games here in this Boston series. An OPS over 1.1. And Chris Colabello, he's back at first base against the lefty Wade Miley. He's hit well over his last 26 games. A .386 average with 10 extra base hits.
And they will face the lefty Wade Miley. Gets ready for his 30th start of the season. That's 3 straight seasons for Miley. 30 straight starts. You mentioned R.A. Dickey's going for his 100th win. Wade Miley enters today looking for his 50th career win. 11-10 with a .441 earned run average.
And Revere takes a first pitch strike. Revere batting .313 since coming to the Blue Jays. .303 on the season, and he bails out. The Blue Jays have the second best batting average against left-handed pitching, as Miley throws one up and into Ben Revere. As a team, the Jays have hit .280.
Leaning out over the plate, he was going to back him off.
That's how you respond to that up and in pitch. Get a leadoff single. Take a look at the Red Sox defense behind Wade Miley. There's Nick Castillo, Jackie Bradley Jr., and Mookie Betts. These guys can really cover a lot of ground in the outfield. Brock Holt making his 20th start at third. Bogaerts and Pedroia up the middle. Travis Shaw, the young first baseman, and Blake Swihart, switch-hitting catcher for Wade Miley.
In the outfield, Mookie Betts getting ready for a second start in right field. He started there last night. Red Sox just want to see if he can handle right field and just see how he can make the decisions and perform out there. He got caught in between last night, I thought, on the triple by Goins. Got a little bit too close to the wall and turned a double into a triple. But they've got a heck of a center fielder in Jackie Bradley.
You saw Miley check in on Ben Revere. Miley's got one of the best pickoff moves in all of baseball. You got to keep your eye on him. Donaldson hit a first inning home run right here at Rogers Center against Wade Miley on the 8th of May. One of 2 home runs Blue Jays hit in that game. Blue Jays won that game 7-0 behind Aaron Sanchez. That's not the good move.
No. That's the old, hey, I see you over there at first base. I'm just going to show you my casual move. As a base runner, you don't want to get hung up out there.
Good changeup in a good spot. Wade Miley spent 4 seasons with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Made 102 starts for Arizona. Went 38-35. This is his first year with the Boston Red Sox. Inside fastball. Donaldson knew it. Miley catches that inside quarter. So Bautista will step in with 1 out and Revere at first. This is the 4th career start against the Blue Jays for Wade Miley, and they have hit him hard. He's got a .924 earned run average in his 3 starts. They've hit 3 home runs against Miley.
Well, he challenges you, and you can see that with Donaldson. He's going to use that fastball. He's the kind of guy who will use that fastball in on the right-handers. I thought the Red Sox did a good job against the Blue Jays when they were back at Fenway Park, especially Henry Owens, a big left-hander who pitched against him. He said, I'm going to have to back these guys off the plate with the fastball. You might see the same thing from Miley.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Miley saw what Owens did. He pitched him inside in Fenway Park, and he might take that same approach here this afternoon.
Well, make note, I think, of that 2-strike pitch to Donaldson. It was a fastball in.
3-0. Bautista takes a strike. Another pitch inside. Another big bat on deck. Now it's 3-2 to the Blue Jays' number 3 hitter.
Took a little something off of that one that time.
Walked number 99 for Bautista.
Designated hitter number 10, Edwin Encarnacion.
This is the 3rd of this dangerous trio. Donaldson, Bautista, and Encarnacion. They have combined to hit 107 home runs.
Edwin has had the benefactor of sitting over there and watching how this pitcher, how Miley faces those right-handers. And if he has picked up that he's going to show him a fastball in the inner half, that could be trouble if he tries to slip one by him.
There's that pitch inside, but it's off the plate. Boy, Miley is working very quickly, and he's used all of his pitches early in this game. Look out. There's that back toss. We see that frequently with Encarnacion. He's got that bad finger on his left hand.
We see it a lot on off-speed pitches, pitches in the dirt, change-ups, and that's what it looked like. It looked like a change-up from Wade Miley. And Edwin, you don't see this very often, swinging at pitches out of the strike zone. But he's fooled. And that one I don't think is coming back. I think Edwin's giving it to the fan.
Fortunately, everybody appears to be okay in those seats. 2 balls and 2 strikes, 1 out. Fly ball to right. Mookie Betts has room tagging at second is Revere. He'll move to third. Encarnacion out on the fly.
Well, let's take a look at the scouting report for the Red Sox starter this afternoon. Wade Miley, there's the fastball. It's a low 90s fastball, and he will use it. He will challenge some of these hitters, and then he'll float in a changeup in there at 83 miles an hour. A little bit of a slider at times. The slider, they're hitting just 230 against that slider, and a curveball every now and then. He's got the lowest fastball strike percentage this season. He is in the top 10, so if he's going to throw that fastball, make sure it's in the strike zone.
There's another move to first. Colabello mentioned his average over his last 26 games, 386 with 10 extra base hits. He has a home run against Wade Miley. Off speed pitch. Two outs, Revere at third, Bautista at first. There's another pitch inside. Pat, you picked up on that pattern very quickly.
He's the kind of guy that needs his fastball, I think. He's going to have to show it to the Blue Jays. Every pitcher that we have seen that nibbles or runs away from the Blue Jays, they aren't aggressive. Those are the guys that have been hit hard by Toronto.
Bouncing ball. Bogarts goes to second. That'll end the inning. Blue Jays get a base hit and a walk, but leave a pair. We're scoreless after one here at Rogers Center.
Go behind the scenes with your favorite characters. You've never seen the Muppets like this. It's Monday on City.
That crowd on hand here this afternoon. It's Junior Jays this Saturday, and a lot of kids come out, of course, and the Blue Jays have been packing the house. It's a revamped team, and they enjoy a comfortable lead in the AL East. The Yankees beat the Mets today 5-0 in New York. That game is already final. So the Blue Jays currently have a 4-game lead over New York. This is Travis Shaw. He homered off R.A. Dickey at Fenway Park.
It was a first pitch fastball from R.A. Looked like he was trying to sneak that thing by Travis Shaw. He said, One of his 11 home runs this season, so R.A.'s thrown a couple of good knuckleballs.
We have seen R.A. use that fastball a lot in the second half of the season, and it's been very effective. Foul tip, and Martin hangs on to it. Pat, how important is it for Russell Martin to catch R.A. Dickey the last couple of starts down here?
I think
stretch.
He needs to get reacquainted with catching the knuckleball. Catching, blocking the ball, being able to throw runners out who are trying to steal with the knuckleball. If they make it into the playoffs, you got to keep Russell Martin's bat in the lineup, right?
Yeah, he's going to play, obviously. It's the 19th time Dickey has thrown to Russell Martin.
You know what else, Buck? I think for Russell's sake, it's important that he can catch the knuckleball. But I think for R.A. Dickey and his confidence that he has in Russell, I think it works both ways.
Tolley caught 3 of the Dickey starts against Boston. Russell caught the other 2. This is the 3rd time he's behind the plate against Boston with Dickey on the mound. And their records are nearly identical. Tolley has a 5-5 record with Dickey in 12 starts, and Russell Martin's 5-6 in his first 18 starts. Cliff Pennington at second. He'll go to first. 1 down. R.A. Dickey got off to a slow start this season, but boy, oh boy, has he been good in the second half of the season.
He's always tinkering. He's always working. He's trying to find something, and that clicks for him in the second half. It's starting to click. 7-1 with an ERA under 3. The whip is 107. And the opponent's batting average 237. But he says the head is very important, where he has to keep his head still, and he's got to make sure that his momentum takes him in his lanes towards home plate. His problem, he was saying earlier in the year, is he was spinning off a lot of pitches, and it's helping to keep the ball out of the strike zone.
This is the left fielder, Rusney Castillo. Castillo was 0 for 4 with a strikeout in the game last night. He reached a fielder's choice and scored. R.A. Dickey got a chance to catch up with Phil Niekro down in Atlanta. Niekro was one of his mentors when Dickey made the transition from a traditional pitcher to a knuckleballer. And if memory serves, Niekro was the one that reminded Dickey, you have to finish in an athletic position. And of course, Niekro pitched his whole life as a knuckleballer and went into the Hall of Fame.
There's a fastball. R.A. was talking about him very briefly to me the other day before we left Atlanta. We had a chance to talk with him, and he just loves Phil, and said Nuxie was so good to him and has been so good to him.
It's a very small fraternity. There aren't many members in that knuckleball fraternity, and Dickey, he too passes along information whenever there's a young pitcher. Early in the spring, he talked to Wright of the Red Sox,
yeah.
And the Orioles have a young knuckleballer as well, and he was anxious to talk to him in spring training. And he loses Castillo. It's a 1-out walk. The man at first and 1 out. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Well, the Yankees roughed up former Blue Jay Noah Syndergaard in that game. Syndergaard gave up 5 runs. All 5 runs the Yankees came off Syndergaard. He gave up 7 hits. He struck out 8, but gave up 2 home runs. And how about Carlos Beltran? He set the table for the Yankees in the first inning with a 2-run home run. Brian McCann hit his 26th. Brock Holt lifts a fly ball into left field. Revere calls for it, and Pilar peels out of the way. 2 down. Lots of communication going on the field as Revere has taken over in left field. He played a lot of center field for the Phillies. So he's out next to Kevin Pillar, who's been the regular center fielder for the Blue Jays.
I like the aggressiveness of Kevin Pillar. You know what you don't want to have? You don't want to have a timid center fielder. You got to have a take charge kind of guy. On that play right there, Kevin was intent on making that catch. He was hard charging after that ball until it just sliced enough away from him that Revere was right there for it.
This is Blake Swihart, the 23-year-old switch hitting catcher. Castillo has 4 stolen bases. He's been thrown out 5 times. course, the Red Sox saw Russell Martin up close and personal last night when he threw out Mookie Betts in the 3rd inning. He's had a terrific season gunning down potential base stealers. There's a base hit to right field. Castillo's turning around second. He's going to go to third. Bautista gets it back in quickly with 2 outs. It's 1st and 3rd. Swihart with a base hit.
Looked like it might have been another fastball right there from R.A. and Swihart was all over it. Yeah, little sinker that doesn't sink. That one goes right to the barrel of the bat.
So Castillo is at third. You saw Swihart at first, and Dickey pitched out of a jam in the 1st inning. Preston Pedroia hit a 1-out triple, but Dickey was able to strike out Bogarts and get Ortiz to fly out to right. Number 9 hitter is Jackie Bradley Jr. Ground ball on the first pitch. Pennington backs up, throws to first. Dickey has stranded 3 so far in this ball game. We'll go to the bottom of the 2nd. No score.
Very small, quiet crowd at Yankee Stadium in the rain. Marcus Strowman said he was amazed at the atmosphere at Rogers Center here last night. As he made his walk to the bullpen prior to the game, he said he got the chills when the fans started screaming for him. He said those chills lasted all game long and really helped give him an extra boost throughout the game. He says there's no place like Rogers Center for him to pitch. And talking to some of his teammates, guys, they said that personality of Marcus Strowman's is really infectious, and they all fed off his emotion. He fed off the crowd. It was just one of those nights for Marcus Strowman and the entire Toronto Blue Jays team.
Yeah, Barry, it's good to have him back, and I think now we have seen the impact of Marcus Strowman and what he means to this ball club, having him in the rotation. And you know, Blue Jays, they're not counting their chickens, but you think about setting up your postseason rotation with having the ability to put Strowman in there, who is fresh. He's made just 2 starts, only 4 starts overall all season long, including his 2 rehab starts.
You know, everybody talks about the energy and the enthusiasm. We love that, of course. I was watching his stuff, and his stuff looked pretty good to me. I couldn't believe the movement, as much movement as we saw. This ball right here comes back and gets Mookie Betts. How about Big Poppy with that fastball right there? I was watching him. It didn't show anything that there was a problem with the knee, his landing leg. He got to cover first base a couple of times. No problems there. But there's the emotion, and there's the high energy and charged up type of player that he is. Love that in him. But I love his stuff even more.
He had 13 ground ball outs in his second start. He had 10 in his start against the Yankees, and that's a totally different approach than what we saw early last year from Strowman. But he developed that 2-seamer mid-season, and man, has he mastered it. This is Kevin Pillar. Boy, You can see Miley continues to work on that inside corner. That curveball, that's in the chest protector. It was up underneath the chest protector of Blake Swihart. Went right underneath his mask, and he didn't know where it was, and it popped out underneath his chest protector. 1-2. Another strikeout. Pitch down and in. Back-to-back strikeouts here in the second. 3 in the ball game for Miley.
Wade Miley comes into this game on a nice little roll. He has reached 6 innings pitched in 8 straight starts, and you can see why. He's pounding it with that fastball changeup. That time it looked like a little bit of a breaking ball. Got under the bat for his 3rd strikeout.
Ryan Goins had a triple. He goes after the first pitch and hits it to Pedroia. Quick inning for Wade Miley. He used just 9 pitches and got a couple of strikeouts in the second.
Buck, thank you. Dustin Pedroia has been pretty impressive since his return from a hamstring injury. In the series finale in Baltimore, he homered twice in that game. And what you're starting to see is his power numbers returning to that of his MVP caliber seasons. I talked to Pedroia earlier today, and he told me that even before the hamstring issues, he felt that his numbers were starting to go to where he expected them to be this year. And one of the big reasons for that is he said that he is completely healed of his hand injuries from the last couple of years. He said that is what has really slowed him down. He said that it's a good sign his hand injuries are officially behind him, because now you're seeing him drive the ball more. And you saw just that, Buck, in the first inning. Pedroia with that triple in his first plate appearance.
And you see that bat handle has a lot to do with the reason he's swinging the bat so well. He has had hand problems, and he absolutely loves that axe-handled bat. Said he started using it full-time in June, and he said, I've been smoking the baseball with it.
It's not a round-handled bat. You know how like a hammer or an axe has, you know, what would you call that? It's almost like got a grip on it. It's not completely round. It's shaved on the sides, so it fits in your hand nicely. I picked that bat up yesterday, and boy, did it ever feel good in my hand.
Yeah, he and Brock Holt both used the bat, and Holt, who is a switch hitter, said it feels good both ways. He said it's a terrific feel. And the reason it feels so good is that axe handle is up against the meaty part of your hand, and you get a lot of leverage. And if you think about it, how many hitting coaches used to talk to you about hit it like a hammer, hit it like a hammer, and that bat handle plays into that.
Well, Felipe Alou used to say in A-ball, when I would play third base for the Yankees, he was a third base coach for the Montreal Expos. He said, swing like you're chopping down a tree, like using an axe, and chop the tree down. And finally figured out what it meant. Bats now are obviously being made like you're an axe, and you want to have that type of swing where you're swinging down.
Yeah, this bat was approved and certified by Major League Baseball in 2010, but nobody used it. But the bat company came back and had a couple of players use it. It is once again certified, and Pedroia has used it almost exclusively since June. Dickey, that's a 3-2 count to Mookie Betts. He's the leadoff man here in the thing. It's a scoreless ball game. R.A. Dickey has stranded 3 base runners so far in the first 2 innings. Mookie Betts wears out the Blue Jays. That ball gets away from Revere, but he gets it on it quickly and hustles it back to the infield.
That is 28 hits now for Mookie Betts against the Blue Jays this season. The most any opposing player has against Toronto. It's another knuckleball. He is all over this one. He can hit the low pitch, the high pitch, the one away, the one in.
And he's extended his personal hit streak against the Blue Jays to 19 straight games. Here is Dustin Pedroia with nobody out. That ball gets away from Martin, and Betts is going to move up. That ball broke sharply down and in, and it went off Russell's glove.
Tried to look that ball in. Watch him. Eyes right on it. Look how he tried to look it in, but the ball was just moving too much. Right off the tip of the glove.
Russell been charged with 18 pass balls. I got to believe that's going to be number 19. There's a strike to Pedroia. It's 1-1. It is a pass ball charged to Russell Martin. Pedroia tripled, but was stranded at third in the first. Pedroia has been the American League Rookie of the Year. In the second season with the Red Sox, he was the American League MVP. He's been a Silver Slugger. He's a 4-time All-Star and a 4-time Gold Glover. Ground ball. Betts has to hold at second. R.A. Dickey has done a terrific job pitching here at Rogers Center this season. You see his numbers for his last 9 home starts. Every aspect is very impressive.
Pitching deep into the ball game with great ERA, opponent's batting average, but the team record 7-2. That's the impressive thing for Dickey. Some of the teams that he has beaten: Cleveland and Detroit. He beat Oakland, Kansas City, Philadelphia. Part of that 7-2 record here at home.
Xander Bogaerts struck out the first inning against Dickey. Dickey threw him a hard knuckleball for strike 3.
I think you got to do this. This guy, look at the average at 320. On first pitches, he's over 460. That's why you got to be careful, especially with runners in scoring position.
Bogaerts goes after it and fouls it back. Once again, he's behind 0-2. Bogaerts just 22 years old. He has taken over as the everyday shortstop, but more impressively, he has taken over as the number 3 hitter in this lineup. And he's in swing mode right now, isn't he?
Yeah, don't throw him a strike. Struck him out last time on a high knuckleball, and he is one of the best in baseball at hitting that high pitch. 360 on high pitches this season. He got him with it last time. Maybe you throw a knuckleball off the plate here.
There's that spin move inside, and Mookie Betts is back safely. Dickey's one of the few pitchers in baseball that won't spin. He'll step inside and throw it back against his body.
The old inside move, right? Makes it tough on the arm.
Bogaerts strikes out for a second time. Bogaerts is fighting that knuckleball early on today.
Another high knuckleball right there. Again, he's very good at hitting that high pitch, but he's not going to come up with this one. Up over the bat. I love the super slow-mo to watch that rotation or lack of rotation on the ball.
2 outs now. Russell Martin would love to have the ability to use that super slow-mo. That'd be a nice way to catch that knuckleball. This is David Ortiz. He grounded. He lined out to Bautista. Snap throw to second, and Goins is right there, but Betts is back.
Hey, if you're there, I'm going to throw it to you. Don't know if that's a set play, but you can see Goins was going to the bag, and Russell, he's not afraid to throw that ball around.
Well, especially with Ortiz at the plate. If you can get out of the inning without throwing another pitch to David Ortiz, you're all that much better off. Ortiz had to deal with multiple pitches from Marcus Strowman in last night's game. Now he's got to deal with this knuckleball of Dickey's. Pops it back out of play. But Ortiz has been around a long time, and with that, he's right there with Alex Rodriguez for the all-time leader in RBIs against the Blue Jays.
A lot of American League East sluggers right there. Ortiz, Rodriguez, Manny Ramirez spent a long time with the Red Sox. He can still swing it.
This is playable. Pennington and Colabello. Now Pennington in foul ground. Waits on it, and Dickey is out of the inning. The Red Sox have gotten a man on in each of the first 3 innings, but Dickey has stranded 4 base runners.
The Blue Jays National Coaching Clinic returns for another year. Learn the Blue Jays way of baseball from members of the Major League staff, minor league coaches, and alumni. You can attend here on January 8th through the 10th at Rogers Center. Learn baseball tips and drills that you can take back to your local baseball association. Go to BlueJays.com/baseball academy for more. Nothing better if you're a coach in minor league baseball to get some tips from the pros, right, Buck?
Especially in January when you could start to think about baseball. Pennington drills this to right, but Mookie Betts has got center fielder's speed, and he runs it down.
He was playing Cliff Pennington very shallow in right field, not thinking that he was going to hit the ball over him, but you're right. He's got center field type of speed, and that's why they want to see what he can do in right field. Mookie takes a good route on this one and runs it down. Looked like it might have been extra bases. He's just a fine athlete.
It's only his second start in right field. Dustin Pedroia has given him the gears. Hey, make it look easier next time. Back to the top of the order, Ben Revere had a leadoff single in the first. Revere doesn't bunt an awful lot, but the Red Sox were deep on the right side, and thought he would take advantage of it. He fouled it back. Now Pedroia and Shaw talking about the situation. Pedroia will shorten up a bit. Shaw's going to stay back.
Boy, on this turf, that's a great play right there against a left-handed pitcher. Just get it by him. But the element of surprise has passed.
Brian Butterfield, he's in charge of the infield, and you can bet he's looking at everybody's position. He certainly knows this field well.
He doesn't miss much, does he?
Not at all.
I mean, those eyes trained on the infield. They're looking around. He doesn't miss much.
Well, it's really difficult when you have so many different infielders, and Brock Holt starting for just the 20th time at third. We've had multiple starters at third, multiple starters at first. It's a ground ball. He knows all about Pedroia.
Now batting, number 20, third baseman Josh Donaldson.
It's Junior J's this Saturday, presented by Boston Pizza. And each Saturday, a Junior J gets to introduce the players. Just one of the many fun activities taking place on Junior J's this Saturday. All presented by Boston Pizza. Bouncing ball that just hit past the lip. Brock Holt throws a strong throw to get Donaldson on one pitch. 3 up, 3 down. 8-pitch inning for Wade Miley. We go to the 4th. Those score.
Presented by the all-new 2016 Honda Pilot, proud partner and official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Another great crowd here at Rogers Center, and today the roof is closed. It's raining outside, and all the fans have come to the ballpark anticipating another great ball game, and so far so good. In a scoreless game, only 4 hits in the ball game.
They haven't given the fans anything to cheer about just yet offensively. Wade Miley's been great.
There's a little looper. This is going to drop in front of Ben Revere off the bat of Travis Shaw. Shaw with his first hit of the afternoon. He's 1 for 2 from a flare into left field. Torey Lovullo is the interim manager, filling in for John Farrell. Farrell's taking the time off to combat cancer. He's dealing with that, and by all reports Farrell's in good spirits, working hard, and during home games he comes to every ball game.
Yeah, we got to see John when we were in Boston last road trip, and said it's going to be a hard time, but he feels like he's going to be okay. The doctors have said that it's a curable type of cancer, that they got it in plenty of time, and he just looked knocked back after all the treatment that he's been going through.
This is a fly ball to shallow center. Pilar is there. Castillo's retired on the fly ball. Travis Shaw retreats to first. R.A. Dickey's had a base runner on in each inning, but the Red Sox haven't been able to cash in. Boston is stranded 4 through the first 3 innings. Interesting, Dickey's numbers. We mentioned how well he pitches here at home, and he also pitches well with the roof closed. For his career, he's 14-5 when the roof is closed here at Rogers Center, compared to 10-8 with open air baseball. His peripheral numbers are also much better with the roof closed. A 353 earned run average opposed to a 429 average when the roof is open. And then the home runs too, 33 home runs in open air baseball, just 19 when it's closed. It's really interesting. And then you ask the next question, well, why don't they open it up when he pitches, or why don't they close it every time he pitches? Well, it's not in the Blue Jays' hands. It's a matter of weather. It's designed to be an open air stadium whenever the weather permits.
Well, who's he pitching against, I wonder, too? I mean, are they good teams?
Right. I agree with that, too. I think there's more into it than just open and closed. Depends on who he's matched up against and who the teams are. This is Brock Holt, the third baseman. 2 balls and 2 strikes now. The Blue Jays lead the American League in wins by starters. They have 7 more wins than any starting staff in the American League, and that's a big improvement over the last several seasons. Ben Revere retreats. This ball's carrying just shy of the warning track. 2 outs now, and that'll push R.A. Dickey over 200 innings for the season. And he's been consistent since he's come to the Jays.
You know, he has done exactly what they acquired him for. They gave up a lot at Noah Syndergaard and Travis d'Arnaud, but they wanted a guy at the front of that pitching staff to give him innings and give him chances to win ball games. 2013, he had 224 innings pitched. Last season, 215 and 2/3, and he is now at 200. He leads the team again in starts. This is his 31st start of the season.
Mark Burley has 179 in the 3rd innings. Estrada 160 in the 3rd. There's a pop-up down the left side. Ben Revere's got room. He's in fair ground, makes the catch, and again, R.A. Dickey strands a base runner. Boston has left 5. Up later on tonight on Sportsnet. It all starts at 9 Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. The Pirates are in L.A. to take on the Dodgers. Francisco Liriano, the lefty for Pittsburgh, against the lefty for the Dodgers. How about a little Clayton Kershaw action tonight, going for his 15th win. Kershaw 14-6 And the Dodgers have an 8.5 game lead over the Giants in the National League West.
What a 1-2 punch the Dodgers can throw at you, huh? Kershaw's great, but Zach Greinke has been better.
Greinke's had a phenomenal season, and he has an out clause in his contract that he can exercise after this season.
I think he's 18-3 after beating the Pirates last night. 18-3.
He has had a terrific season, and he has certainly pitched well. 165 earned run average for Greinke. Kershaw's at 212. Nothing to sneeze at. Bautista's behind Wade Miley. A ball and 2 strikes. Pushes Bautista back, and that's been the pattern for Miley. Work these righties inside. Swing and a drive deep to left field. Castillo is there, and he's going to make the catch. That ball didn't carry. Little off-speed pitch. Yeah. Bautista was out in front.
It was a changeup from Wade Miley. You can see his reaction. He just got it off the barrel a little bit towards the end of the bat for Jose, and he just didn't get all of it. And it looked like it had a chance.
One down here in the 4th. Edwin Encarnacion flied out to right his first time up. Takes ball 1. Miley's taking a page out of Mark Burley's book.
Boy, he is working quickly, isn't he? Throwing a lot of strikes, putting a lot of pressure on those batters.
And Burley always works quickly, and he always has. I think it's a good approach. Hitters don't have time to really clear their minds and put together their thoughts. Encarnacion takes ball 4, second walk issued by Miley.
Buck, we were talking about the use of the changeup and what it does, how it gets it off the middle of the bat. Jose looked like he got himself a home run, but watch where he hits this ball. Right off the end. That's not the sweet spot right there. You can see on contact it's a little bit more towards the end of the bat. He got it pretty good, but not enough to drive it out of here.
Yeah, you're right. We talked about that sweet spot probably being about 3.5, 4 inches wide. Colomelo goes after the first pitch. And all you need is a couple of inches of movement to take it either toward the end or toward the label, just to get it off that sweet spot. Colomelo went after that first pitch, and he's been good on first pitches all season long. A .549 average on first pitches. That's an interesting number, Pat. Obviously, you're really looking for a pitch you can drive, so Colomelo has done a good job of being patient and being selective, and when he gets a pitch he can hit, he's put it in play.
Yeah, for a player who has a pretty good approach at the plate. Surprising that he swings so much at the first pitch, but I think he understands hitting, and he'll swing at that first pitch when he has a pretty good idea that they're going to throw the fastball right there.
Change-up and a good one. 2-2 now to Colomelo. Encarnacion is at first base. The catcher is on deck, Russell Martin. Miley was upset he missed that inside pitch. You set it up and you get it right where you want to, but then it's a ball full count now with 1 out. See, that fastball's 93 miles an hour, but with 2 strikes He's put the changeup in the head of the hitter, so they're not really aggressive getting that head out.
I think he was looking for the changeup right there. He was looking for something off speed and just fouled that ball off. That good fastball.
Colorado takes ball 4, back-to-back walks with 1 out. It's a dangerous situation with this lineup. 2 aboard for Russell Martin.
Be nice to get that guy back on the right. That's Troy Tulowitzki. He's making progress.
Yeah, it's good to see him back with the team. He went to Boston to have a chat with a doctor who specializes in that type of injury, a blunt trauma injury to his shoulder blade. Says he's getting more movement, a little more range of motion in that left shoulder area.
Said he could actually lift his arm today to get dressed, help him put his shirt on.
I'll tell you one thing, I know he's not very comfortable sitting on the bench. He's a regular player, and when you can't play, boy, it's really an odd feeling. But he's been diligent in his therapy. 1-2 to Martin. Bounced in the dirt. Bouncing ball. Bogarts the second for 1. Pedroia back to first. Double play. Russell Martin bounces into a double play. It's a scoreless game as we head to the 5th. Now time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell.
Is Blue Jays Fan Appreciation Weekend presented by Allstate. The Blue Jays take on the Rays on the 26th and 27th, and they'll have fun in-game activities, prizes to be won all weekend long. Guys, you were speaking of Troy Tulowitzki. I had a chance to speak to him today. He says that right now his goal is to return for the start of the postseason. He's having some very intense tissue massage on those muscles in his back and neck area. He says right now the healing of the crack in the shoulder is very important, but the muscles too are big for him. He says he's talked to a few people involved in the NFL who've gone through similar injuries just to pick their brains on how to rehab this thing as quick as possible.
Mary, the training staff, George Poulos and Mike Frosted, they too have reached out to NFL trainers to talk about the approach to handling this injury. And Pat, the biggest thing is that blunt force trauma kind of smashed those muscles on top of the shoulder blade, and you've got to allow them to get some blood flow and rehab, and it just takes time to heal.
Yeah, the crack has to close up first of all. Has to heal, and I'm not sure how long that's going to take. But you're right. All the muscle tissue injury. I mean, the good part about it, it's not his throwing arm, his throwing side, but it is his hitting side, the left side, that he got injured in that collision with Kevin Pillar.
Tony Bradley Jr. waves at that knuckleball. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes. The only other player I've ever heard that had a cracked shoulder blade like that. Here's the 2-2 pitch, cut on and missed. 3 strikeouts for R.A. Dickey. The only other player that I've ever heard of that had a cracked shoulder blade was a young third baseman for the San Francisco Giants named Jim Ray Hart. Bob Gibson hit him with a fastball in the shoulder blade and broke his shoulder blade. But that's the only other time I've heard of that kind of injury, because, you know, there's plenty of muscles up there, but it takes a unique and an unfortunate blow to that area to create that kind of problem. That's why people didn't dig in against Jim Ray Hart. I mean, against Bob Gibson.
I don't even think his mother would dig in against him.
Top of the order, Mookie Betts is 1 for 2.
You know, he's quick. His bat is very quick. If he can keep that ball away from him, I think he'll have success. Anything on the inner half, he has been yanking the left field for hits. There you go.
Dickey's a very good fielder. Takes his time, throws his strike to first.
Save during the plumbing, heating, and electrical expert sale. Only at Home Hardware and Building Center locations. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Second baseman Dustin Pedroia has tripled and grounded out so far this afternoon. Pedroia was a second-round pick of the Red Sox in 2004, only because the Red Sox didn't have a first round. He was the first player taken by the Red Sox in 2004. Line to Allison. Pedroia hit it hard. The first time the Red Sox have not gotten a base runner on against R.A. Dickey. They go down in order in the 5th. Pedroia hit it hard for a second time. This time it ends up in Donaldson's glove at 3rd.
Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on more than 400 devices with MLB.TV Premium. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking, and more. Every night on every device. Visit BlueJays.com for more details. Great pennant races, Buck. And Pat and I were talking earlier, the Cleveland Indians, they aren't done yet. They get right into that wild card race.
You know what? They've got a pretty good pitching staff, and they have clawed their way back to 500. Minnesota and the Angels are playing a doubleheader today because they were rained out in last night's game.
Angels just took a lead in that game in extra innings.
Minnesota is a game out of the second wild card spot. The Angels are 2 games back and Cleveland 3. Teams are running out of games. Wade Miley's ahead of Kevin Pillar 0-2. Another pitch inside. Pat, he's done a great job. He has been hit hard in previous starts by the Blue Jays. Not the case today. Jays have just 1 hit, and that was a leadoff single.
Yeah, I love the pace that he's working at today. He's using that fastball. His changeup must be pretty good because the Blue Jays have not been able to pick up on it, nor have they been able to pick up on that curveball. You've seen a lot of swings and misses or check swings on balls in the dirt.
There's a breaking ball. Pillar is able to foul it up. Miley, 28 years old. He's from Hammond, Louisiana. He pitched at Southeastern Louisiana University and was taken in the first round by the Diamondbacks in 2008. Fly ball to left. Rusney Castillo is there. Pillar is retired, 1 down. Well, both of these pitchers are throwing a lot of strikes here, and they have taken the sting out of the hitter's bats.
It's almost a given that he's going to throw a 3-2 changeup. That was another one right there to Pillar. And Kevin hit it right off the end of the bat.
Shortstop Ryan Goins will step in. Goins grounded out sharply to Pedroia. The big improvement in Goins' approach has been the fact that he's patient. He's forcing pitchers to throw him strikes. 3-0. Brooke Jacoby told me during the flip drills they do prior to batting practice, if he doesn't get a strike in the flip drill, he won't swing at it. And he takes a 4-pitch walk. So the lefty Miley lets the lefty Goins reach with 1 out. Well, the Kansas City Royals, boy, they lost a tough one last night. Detroit beat them in extra innings, scoring 2 runs. And the Blue Jays now are just a game behind Kansas City. And that is significant because the team with the best overall record in the American League will get home field advantage throughout the playoffs.
And the Blue Jays, right, Buck, only have to tie the Royals because they've had the better record during the regular season against them. The head-to-head matchup.
Head-to-head matchup favors the Blue Jays.
So that they don't have to finish ahead of the Royals to have the best record. They just have to finish with the same record, and they will have home field advantage throughout the playoffs.
Well, and it's significant. The Blue Jays here at home, 48-25. They're 23 games over 500 a year at Rogers Center. Cliff Pennington lined out deep to right field his first time up. Wade Miley has been able to pitch around the 4 walks so far.
4 walks. The Blue Jays have been very patient with him. But he's made pitches when he had to. Last inning, got a double play to get out of it.
Miley has worked that inside corner so often. Now he's starting to get the benefit of those borderline pitches.
Yeah, both of those look like they might have been inside.
Another inside pitch called for a strike. Pennington called out by Dan Iasonia. The Blue Jays have played so well here all season long, but especially lately over their last 25 games, the numbers are very impressive.
Fit 37 home runs, and they have outscored the opposition by almost 70 runs. The fans have gotten into it. I think the players are feeding off of the energy of these big crowds, these sold-out crowds here.
Ben Revere has the only hit this afternoon against Wade Miley. It was a leadoff single in the first. He drops that curveball in there for a strike. Ben Revere is a singles hitter, and the defense reflects that fact. The outfield not very deep.
Yeah, shallow, and they're playing him to hit the ball the other way. If he could get something up and pull the ball down into the right field corner, I think it scores a run for the Blue Jays.
Breaking ball, Revere strikes out. 2 strikeouts in the inning. 5 strikeouts over 5 innings, and we'll go to the 6th. Here comes the Home Hardware Cleanup Crew, brought to you by Natura. Home Hardware's exclusive line of safe, environmentally friendly cleaning products.
It ends of the dome. On the side behind home plate, we have the Rogers Comfort Zone, the TD Comfort Zone, brought to you by TD, and we have guests of TD sitting up there. Meanwhile, out in center field, there is the WestJet flight deck, and a reminder that the home run contest is on right now. If a player hits a home run into the flight deck, your name could be drawn to win $25,000 WestJet dollars. For full contest rules and entry form, visit bluejays.com/WestJet.
There's a deep drive to left field, and Xander Bogaerts has just given the Red Sox a 1-0 lead. Bogaerts had struck out in his first 2 at-bats, and this time he catches up to that knuckleball. His 6th home run of the season puts the Red Sox up 1-0.
.468 batting average coming into this game on the first pitch of at-bats, and Ari Dickey went with the knuckleball, obviously, with that first pitch, but he's ready for it. This is going to be home run number 6 for Bogaerts, deep to left field. Boy, he steps in that batter's box. He's ready to swing it.
Yeah, he is certainly in swing mode, and he's been battling that knuckleball all afternoon. Struck out his first 2 at-bats. Ortiz hits it right to Pennington, who's out in right field. He takes his time, and Ortiz is retired. Let's go back and take a look at the Bogaerts at-bat.
There's going to be some power in there as he gets older. Again, he's only 22 years old, and he turns 23 on October the 1st. He's the first Red Sox with as many as 175 hits in a season before turning 23 since Ted Williams did it in 1940. He's going to be a good player if he isn't already.
And he has made some dramatic strides from last year to this. A fly ball into center. Travis Shaw flies out to Pilar. 2 down. Well, anytime you mention in a sentence with Ted Williams, you're doing something special. And Xander Bogaerts has really come into his own this season. That's why the future isn't as bleak as the record might indicate. When you think about Bogaerts and Bradley and Betts, Swihart. Dave Dombrowski told us yesterday, he said, obviously we need to address the pitching. And it was interesting, he said, the first thing we have to fix is the bullpen. Most front office personnel will think, well, get starting pitching together. But he said dramatically, we got to fix the bullpen first. Get these guys straightened out so when we do have leads, we don't cough them up. There's a deep drive to center. Pilar is on the run. He's calling for it, and he makes the catch. Kevin Pilar waved his hand up there. Revere didn't really hear him, but Pilar stayed with it and made the catch. Castillo is retired, but the Red Sox have taken the lead. Pilar continues to shine in center field with his glove. Very balanced season. When you look at his season split in two, the numbers are almost identical for his production.
But I'm going to make the argument that his second half has been better than the first. You guys look at the number of games. It took him 89 games in the first half at 21 and drive in 60. Just 56 games to drive in those same 60 runs here in the second half. He just seems to get stronger and stronger and better as the season has worn on.
Last year with the Oakland A's, he had 238 in the first half in 92 games, 280 in the second half. But his power numbers really dropped off in the second half. He hit just 9 home runs. He had 20 home runs in the first half of the season a year ago. But he wore down in the second half and didn't have the same production he's enjoying this season. Blue Jays down 1-0. The Blue Jays are 20-12 against left-handed starters this season. A leadoff walk. That's 5 walks issued by Wade Miley. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Thank you very much, Jamie. And they will play a split doubleheader. Game 2 starts later on tonight. So the Angels gain ground on Minnesota. They are now just a half game back, or a game back of that second wild card spot. This fly ball to center field off the bat of Jose Bautista. 1 down.
He is just keeping that ball off the barrel of the bats of the big hitters with that changeup. And his breaking ball and his fastball, you can see Jose shaking his head. That was a pretty good pitch to hit, but he just negated his power by changing speeds on him.
Edwin Encarnacion walked his last time up, one of 5 walks that Miley has issued. Miley certainly hasn't shied away from the inside part of the plate.
That is obviously part of his game plan. Pound him inside and then change ups away. Like that. Right there. Change up down and away. Fastballs and sliders in, change ups away. I think as a hitter, you're going to have to pick one side of the plate or the other until you get the 2 strikes and sit on them. It's like Edwin might have hurt himself again on that swing.
Every once in a while, he'll take a wild swing, and that knuckle will be squeezed up against that bat and creates pain. It's the knuckle of his middle finger on that left hand.
That's why he drops that bottom hand and takes it off the bat. It's a lot of times, again, it's on those types of pitches, off-speed pitches down and away where he has to reach for it.
Swing and a drive. Get out of here, Paul. Home run, Encarnacion. Number 34, and that leadoff walk allows the Blue Jays to take a 2-1 lead.
And that's going to get the fans into this one. They are jacked now. Tell you, you didn't have time enough to say swing and a drive because this thing got out of here quick. Little cutter on the inner half, and Edwin goes down and gets it. And hits a liner right off the facing of the second deck.
Well, you can run from this lineup, but somebody's going to get you sooner or later. There's just too much thunder in this batting order.
There are the fingers. Do you think he might have been playing possum just a little bit after swinging and hurting his fingers?
Hitters don't do that, do they?
No. Maybe that just baited him to throw that little cutter on the inner half right there, and he was waiting for it.
That home run gives the trio of Donaldson, Bautista, and Encarnacion 108, and it gives R.A. Dickey the lead. Three and 2 to Colabello. Two-1 Blue Jays. Martin is on deck, 1 out with a full count on Chris Colabello, the first baseman. Ground ball. Holt dives for it, gets to his feet, throws one in the dirt. Colabello says he was safe. Alan Porter, the first base umpire, called him out, but Colabello went across the bag and spread his arms wide, saying safe. Holt dove for it, got to his feet quickly, and fired to first. The call on the field is that Colabello is out. Marlo Hale waiting to hear from the Blue Jays video room.
Looked like this ball was going to get by Holt, but he dives, comes up with it, and then throws a one-hopper over to first base.
Boy, that is bang, bang. And the Blue Jays will not challenge the call on the field. And Colabello is out 5-3. 2 down now for Russell Martin. First pitch swinging, lifts a foul ball into the seats. Boy, what a ball game. The Blue Jays have 2 hits. First batter of the game, Ben Revere's single. And in the 6th, Edwin Encarnacion goes deep with a man aboard.
They came into this series, these two teams, two of the 3 highest scoring teams since the All-Star break. And we got a pitcher's duel today. Blue Jays only have 2 hits.
Well, the 5th walk issued by Miley to start the inning to Donaldson. Caught up with it. You put a man aboard this part of the lineup, it's going to catch up to you. So foul ball. 5 walks, and finally the Blue Jays were able to cash one in. Martin strikes out, then gets away from Swihart, and he's going to reach base. That ball went off the catcher's glove. Martin did not foul chip it. It should be a pass ball charged to Swihart. That would be his 16th of the season. Allows Russell Martin to reach base on the strikeout.
Looked like a cutter, and he just boxed it up. He thought that ball might have gone into the dirt, but it did not. He just hits it right off of his glove, and that allows the inning to keep going. Miley will be credited with a strikeout.
A strikeout and a pass ball allows the catcher Russell Martin to reach base. Sixth inning, it's a 2-1 Blue Jays lead. Three balls and a strike to Kevin Pillar.
A lot of patience for the Blue Jays. He's worked quickly, but you mentioned all the walks. That pitch count up over 100 now for Miley, and it's only the 6th.
The Red Sox bullpen is quiet. Pillar strikes out. But Miley gives up just his 2nd hit of the afternoon. He comes with a man aboard, and it leaves the ballpark. Home run number 34 for Edwin Encarnacion, just his 5th of the season against a left-handed pitcher.
Game of the regular season, and it is Blue Jays hoodie giveaway day presented by Allstate. Get to the Rogers Center early. The first 20,000 fans will receive one of these cool Blue Jays hoodies, and it'll be something that you can wear when you come to the games in October. Wouldn't that be cool, eh, Buck?
Sure would be, Barry, and the weather is supposed to turn around a little bit this weekend. Might be time for a hoodie. Finish up this homestand. It'll be 7-8-9 for the Red Sox in the 7th, and they trail 2-1 now. They've out-hit the Blue Jays 5-2. Mark Lowe has been throwing in the Blue Jays bullpen. Dickey's probably given an opportunity to get out of this 7th inning, bottom third of the order.
I think ideally they'd like him to try and finish this inning. Aaron Sanchez threw in yesterday's ball game. If R.A. can get through this inning, then you will probably see Lowe in the 8th and Osuna in the 9th, assuming that the score stays the same. If not, if he can't get through this inning, then Mark Lowe might have to come in and finish off this one.
Fly ball, Ben Revere giving chase. It's over his head and bounces out of play. A ground rule double. Just like that, the Red Sox have the tying run at second.
Holt always seems to come up with big base hits against the Blue Jays, and it's a good at bat. Pitch that was up as John Gibbons is going to go to his bullpen. Yeah, there's that two-seamer once again that's up because he is up in the count. Slices it over Revere's head for a leadoff double.
So R.A. Dickey, another terrific outing for Dickey here in the second half. He will turn things over to the bullpen with the lead.
Partner and official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
It's a rainy afternoon in Toronto. The roof is closed and the Red Sox are threatening here in the top of the 7th. Mark Lowe into the game to face Blake Swihart. Check swing tapper towards second base. Better hurry. Swihart runs well. Bang bang at first. Mark Lowe retires the first batter he faces here.
Now he's going to have to deal with a runner at third base at less than 2 outs. Mark last worked on Tuesday. That was in Atlanta. He faced 3 batters. 52nd game of the season. See the earned run average there at 160. That ranks 4th lowest among American League relievers. 57 strikeouts, the same number on his back to go along with 12 walks. And now the infield's going to come in.
This is Jackie Bradley Jr. 0 for 2 with a strikeout against Dickey. Great numbers for Lowe this season. Just 2 of 16 inherited base runners have come in to score. To give you an idea of how effective Lowe has been when he comes in with base runners on, the major league average is 29.7 base runners scored. Lowe is well below that. One and two. R.A. Dickey with another terrific start here in the second half. Pitches into the 7th. Ground ball off the glove of Pennington. Brock Holt comes in to score. Bradley Jr. is headed for second. Here's the throw. It is not in time. Brock Holt comes in to score the tying run. Jackie Bradley Jr. hustles around first and makes his way into scoring position.
Boy, it shows you the kind of talent that he has. That's going to be a no decision now for REA. Pitched a heck of a ball game. Look at the talent that Bradley has. They were playing contact. He was going to score anyway, but as soon as that ball goes out into short right field, Jackie Bradley hustles his way into scoring position. They needed a strikeout or a pop-up there. And they get the run in.
It's a double for Jackie Bradley Jr., an RBI. Now Mookie Betts. First pitch strike to Betts. Two ball game. Strike 2. It's only the 3rd run that Lowe is allowed to score after inheriting 17 base runners. The 3rd time he's allowed a base runner to come in. 0-2 to Mookie Betts. He's extended his hit streak to 19 straight against the Blue Jays. Popped up. Colabello at first. Makes the catch. 2 down. Jackie Bradley Jr. can run, so with 2 outs, he's going to be off on the crack of the bat. Brett Cecil, the lefty, loosening up with Ortiz in mind. He's 2 batters away. First pitch strike. Pedroia has hit the ball sharply twice. He tripled in the 1st and lined out to 3rd base in the 5th. With that base hit, Jackie Bradley Jr. snapped an 0-for-21 streak.
He was some kind of hot, wasn't he, when we were at Fenway Park? Beginning of that last road trip, he was hitting everything in sight.
Foul outside of 3rd base. 1-2 to Dustin Pedroia, 2 outs. The Boston Red Sox have tied it up here in the 7th. Brock Holt, he has been a thorn in the Blue Jays' side. He hit a leadoff double. over the head of Ben Revere in left. That was off R.A. Dickey, and Dickey's line is complete. 6 innings plus 1 batter. 6 hits, 2 earned runs. Pedroia gets a piece of it and stays alive.
How did he get a piece of that? That ball was way off the plate. And he was able to extend. It's a nice sharp slider. That low halves. Watch where this ball is. Way off the plate. Martin's setting up off the plate, and somehow Pedroia gets a piece of it.
This time, Pedroia strikes out. Same pitch, better results. But the Red Sox have tied it, leadoff double, and an RBI double by Jackie Bradley Jr. A 2-2 game.
Our nation celebrating Canada's team with a 22-day countdown to the final home game. Share your passion on social media with hashtag 22daysBlueJays and let the celebration begin. And guys, the celebration is well underway. Team East, which began in Newfoundland, is now in Quebec City. Team West began in BC. They are now in Winnipeg. And while they stopped in Alberta, how's this for a man cave? Some of the great things you see. This was somebody's basement.
That was a basement? Looked like a sports bar. Terrific shot. Wade Miley works here in the 7th. Goins bounces it on 2 hops to Pedroia. 1 down. Wins are tough to come by in September. I don't care who you're playing. Nobody wants to see another team celebrate a pennant while they're playing them. And Boston's putting up a fight. They took 2 of 3 from the Blue Jays at Fenway Park on the last Blue Jays road trip.
It's also tough to win in September when teams are chasing you. They want to knock you off.
It's down the right side. That's a foul ball, just sliced out of play. Cliff Pennington has lined out and struck out. He was called out on an inside fastball his last time up back in the 5th. Ground ball. Bogarts waits for the in-between hop in time. 2 down. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. A terrific ball game here at Rogers Center, a 2-2 game with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th. Bouncing ball up the middle. Pedroia near second. He'll have to hurry. Not in time. Ben Revere busting it out of the batter's box. Reaches on that infield hit. Pedroia's momentum was taking him away from first base. Didn't get a lot on the throw.
I don't think they're going to challenge it, but I think he's going to change pitchers. One more time up the middle. Pedroia plays this game the right way. He goes far to his right. Gets a lot on that throw, but Revere beats it out. And with a trio of right-handed sluggers coming up, Torey Lovullo's going to go to his bullpen.
Ben Revere with his second hit of the afternoon. Only the third Blue Jay hits. Wade Miley is out of the game. The runner at first is his responsibility. Noe Ramirez into the ball game with 2 outs.
Expert sale only at Home Hardware and Building Center locations. Homeowners helping homeowners with expert advice.
Well, both starters are out of the game, and now it's a battle of the bullpens. Noe Ramirez, he has pitched against the Blue Jays. He appeared twice in this series at Fenway Park.
He's got good stuff. You can see the numbers in just 10 innings, 10 games this season. Hard sinker, hard slider, and he's going to be facing some righties, some tough righties. Torey Lovullo telling you and I over in Fenway Park he loves this kid. He wants to see him against these tough right-handers. He thinks he can really handle them.
None are tougher than Josh Donaldson. Ramirez faced Donaldson in game 2 of that 3-game series at Fenway Park and got him to tap into a fielder's choice to end the 7th. Way outside. He's got a whippy arm. A lot of arm action in that 3-quarter delivery. Tough on righties.
Third stint with this team this year. Spent a lot of time in the minor leagues. There's Torey. Torey says, I like him. I like his bulldog attitude against these guys.
Took a lot off that breaking ball. It's 1-2 to Donaldson. 2 outs. It's a 2-2 ball game. You give Revere the opportunity to run right here.
Yeah, I think so. The wish list. Homer by Donaldson. Yeah, I give him the green light right here. Try to get into scoring position. Red Sox are thinking the same thing.
There he goes. Pitches up and away. The throw's a good one. In time. Ben Revere is caught stealing for the first time since coming to the Blue Jays. He was a perfect 5 for 5. Blake Swihart delivers a strike to second base. Revere got a good jump. Swihart makes a strong throw. Pedroia is there to put the tag on Revere to end the seventh. Looks like the Blue Jays are going to take a look at the video and challenge the play. He said challenge. They're going to have a challenge. They're going to look at it.
Where was the tag?
His hand was on the base before Pedroia got that glove on it.
Looked like he might have got him on the elbow. One more time.
That one he was out. No question about it. So it doesn't appear as though the Blue Jays are going to win this appeal. He put that tag on his elbow before that hand hit the bag, and it'll give you an idea. The different angles will improve the perspective. So Brian Honora, the crew chief, he made the call at second, and they're going to have a look at it. The crowd's reacting to the video on the scoreboard, but I think you get a different look at it. You'll see that Pedroia tagged Revere on the elbow right here.
Look at the position that Pedroia is in. It's perfect position, straddling the bag, so when the throw comes in, all he has to do is just drop that glove down. From that angle right there, it looked like he hit the elbow before.
You could see the elbow move because of the contact of Pedroia's glove. To me, that's the best angle. Ken Iasonia is the second umpire in seniority here, and Honora is the crew chief. So Honora, who made the play, is joined by Iasonia, the home plate umpire.
They have to have definitive evidence that his hand was on the bag before the tag, and I don't know if there was enough evidence because so much dirt was kicked up when that hand was sliding towards the bag. It was really hard to tell when he was on the bag.
Blue Jays challenging the call on the field, and it's worth a shot. It's a 2-2 game. You got Donaldson at the plate. Dustin Pedroia put the tag on Ben Revere. Watch the elbow move. There. You could see the contact. It moved the jersey of Ben Revere
before the bag moved.
Umpires have the decision now. Oh, they were ready to take the headsets off, and then they said, wait a minute, hold on.
Let's look at another angle.
Obviously a very important challenge for both clubs. Now they've got it. Brian Honora about ready to take his headset out. And they hold the call on the field. There wasn't enough evidence to overturn it. Ben Revere caught for the first time since coming to the Jays. It's a 2-2 game after 7.
for today's play of the game. You can do that today and after every game only on sportsnet.ca. Well, Buck, 2-2. We're into the 8th inning now, so possibly a walk-off hit may be our play of the game today.
Always a possibility. Blue Jays are pretty good at that. Right now, it's going to be Xander Bogaerts, who homered his last time up. It was the first run of the ball game. Came in the 6th inning. It's up to the bullpens now. Mark Lowe on. Lowe gave up the ground ball double to Jackie Bradley Jr. against the drawn-in infield.
I mean, this is where you start looking for matchups right here. You get into the game right here. You see where the Red Sox are. Middle of the lineup. That guy is lurking on deck right there. So Brett Cecil is getting loose.
Cecil and Osuna throwing for the Blue Jays. Little tapper toward Colabello. He knocks it down, and then he swipes at Bogaerts and says he tagged him. Bogaerts ran into Colabello. Colabello hit the ball back toward home plate, got in the baseline, and was able to tag Bogaerts as they collided and then swiped at him. But Colabello has the right to field the baseball. He has the right of way. Alan Porter is the first base umpire.
I think what Torey Lovullo is asking, did he tag him? Here's the play. He fields it. He had a chance to field it. Oh, he does tag him. What a play by Colabello, and he holds on to it. He had a right to field it the first time, so that baseline, he can get run over by the base runner, but Colabello, presence of mind to reach behind him and tag Xander Bogaerts.
Chris is a big man, and he got right in the base path. Bogaerts had nowhere to go. So the Red Sox won't challenge the call. Mark Lowe got his man. Now it'll be up to Brett Cecil. Cecil hit to face David Ortiz. 1 out in a 2-2 game.
The 2016 Honda Pilot, proud partner and official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Brett Cecil has been terrific. He's not allowed a run over his last 25 innings, a span of 28 games. That's the longest active scoreless streak in the majors.
And that's why that batting average against keeps coming down. Righties 212, lefties 213. He's striking people out, and he's going to have to face a tough customer here in Big Papi. Probably one of the best clutch hitters the Red Sox have ever had.
David Ortiz facing Brett Cecil. First pitch strike. What a ball game. 2-2. We're in the 8th.
There are the numbers that you were just talking about last time that they were scored upon. Ortiz has a home run off of Cecil. David is just 4 for 26 in his career, but one of those hits, home run.
The Yankees have won already this afternoon. They beat the Mets 5-0 at Citi Field in New York. Ortiz strikes out. Another wicked breaking ball.
He was just not going to throw him a fastball. Why would you? Guy's got 35 home runs, 2 strikes, expand the strike zone, use that breaking ball, and he gets a dangerous hitter.
The Blue Jays bullpen since the All-Star break has been phenomenal. A 2.69 ERA for the bullpen. Opponents have hit just 2.19. They've averaged 4.39 strikeouts for every walk. As a unit, they've been shut down. This is Travis Shaw. He has singled in 3 trips. Ground ball. Pennington to his right, quickly to first, offline. Pennington had trouble getting the ball out of his glove, and that disrupted the timing of the play. So Shaw will reach.
Yeah, it looked like he was a little bit in between. Should I field it on the backhand, or do I have time to get into the front of it? He gets in front of the ball, and watch when he goes to reach into his glove. Just a little double clutch, and he threw that ball offline. Watch when he goes into the glove. He doesn't have that four-seam grip like you usually see, and he knows it.
So Cecil gives up an infield hit to Travis Shaw. There are 2 outs. We're in the 8th inning, and here comes Roberto Osuna in a 2-2 game. Roberto Osuna into this ball game. He last pitched on Thursday in Atlanta. He pitched the 9th inning through just 9 pitches to close out that 5-0 win over the Braves.
Here's the thinking right here by John Gibbons. Get him in here. Let's see if he can finish this inning. I've got my best hitters coming up in the bottom of the inning, and then Osuna warm and in the game. Hopefully he can finish it off in the top of the inning. So we'll see how this one works out. But the numbers for Osuna are incredible.
Here's Nate Castillo, the left fielder. We mentioned the numbers, and the biggest thing has been Osuna's ability to throw strikes. He's added a slider over the course of the season, and it's been a very effective third pitch for him. Popped up on the infield. Goins, the shortstop, calls for it. He's underneath, makes the grab. Osuna gets out of the top half of the eighth. We'll go to the bottom of the eighth. It's 2-2. Now time for a Blue Jays Central update.
Well, the new Sportsnet app has you covered. Keep up to speed with everything Blue Jays. Don't miss a pitch with our in-depth live game tracker. Plus the latest news, videos, and interviews on Canada's team. Download the new Sportsnet app today. Bye.
Thank you very much, Barry Davis. What a crowd on hand. Another sellout crowd here at Rogers Center. 47,415, and they've been entertained to a terrific ball game. Both starters were very good. R.A. Dickey for the Blue Jays, Wade Miley for the Red Sox, and now it's a battle of the bullpens.
And this is what they came for right here. They want to see Josh Donaldson hit.
Swinging and a drive, but it looks like it's going to hook into the fourth deck. Donaldson faced Ramirez. He was at the plate when Ben Revere was thrown out to end the seventh, and he was sitting fastball.
And he got it. And he's hit a few of these that he knows that that ball's going to hook foul. Bench thought this was a home run, but he was a little bit too early.
Donaldson with 39 home runs. Josh is 0 for 2. He walked and scored in the sixth. He scored on the Encarnacion 2-run homer. The meat of the order. Donaldson, Bautista, Encarnacion. Ball 4. Donaldson walks for a second straight at bat. 6 walks issued by the Red Sox this afternoon.
I find that really interesting. That first pitch, he drills deep to left field, and then he didn't come inside the rest of the at-bat. Stayed away from his power.
Number 2 in the triple threat is Jose Bautista. He's 0 for 2 with a walk. After dealing with nothing but pitches inside from Wade Miley, I don't think Ramirez is going to challenge these guys inside. The Red Sox outfield playing no doubles. They are backed up deep. Way outside.
Did he? Looks like he stumbled off the mound there, Buck, like he might have hurt himself. I think that's why Blake Swihart has gone out there to talk to him. Watch the follow through after he delivers the pitch. Just a little bit. Jose's just missed a couple of balls this afternoon. Flew out to left field and then flew out to center field in his last 2 at-bats.
Inside, he checked his swing. They appealed to Alan Porter at first. He said no swing. Now it's a 3-1 count.
Jose's ready to swing, but that's him trying to get out of the way. Red Sox are saying check it, but he was trying to get out of the way.
Back-to-back walks here in the 8th. Trying the game presented by the all-new 2016 Honda Pilot, proud partner and official vehicle of the Toronto Blue Jays.
Well, we've called his name a few times in the second half. Edwin Encarnacion, his last time up, this laser off a cutter down at end from Wade Miley. He sends it off the second deck in left field. He can circle the bases once again with that wing up, and that is our drive of the game.
For Encarnacion, that's home run number 34. Gives him 102 RBIs. And the parrot perch has been out once already this afternoon. Find out about Noe Ramirez, this is the perfect spot. Delivers a strike. It's 1-1.
Everything away. Ever since that first pitch of this inning from Donaldson, where he launched it foul, he has pitched these power hitters away.
Just off the outside edge. Encarnacion has 4 multi-home run games this season.
Changeup. And that one floated inside, and everyone was all over it.
Full count. Josh Donaldson walked to start the inning. Bautista walked for a second time. Now Encarnacion. Good foul. So you wanted meaningful baseball in September. Here you are. Base hit. Donaldson's being waved around home. Here's the throw from Castillo. It's a good throw. Not in time.
good stuff. That ball's moving all over the place, but Edwin is just so strong. He actually breaks his bat in half and still pounds it through the left side of the infield. Watch where the barrel goes after he hits it all the way down the left field line, so that takes some of the sting out of it. Josh Donaldson with a dive at the plate scores the tie-breaking run.
Encarnacion with all 3 Blue Jays RBIs, and they lead it 3-2.
Well, with a runner at first and second, anything on the ground, both runners can take off. So he had a great jump at second base, and that allowed him to just sneak in the back door right there with that dive at the plate.
What a terrific job of Donaldson swiping his hand across home plate. Encarnacion, his 3rd RBI. There's a go-ahead RBI here in the 8th. Tough to get through this part of the order unscathed. Leadoff walk to Donaldson. Bautista walked for a second time, and Encarnacion cashed him in.
Well, now he's going to have to battle him right here with 2 strikes.
Munenori Kawasaki loosening up. Bautista thought about going to 3rd. He had a walking lead. There's nobody out. Osuna got Castillo to end the top of the 8th. Ramirez was a 4th-round pick of the Red Sox out of Cal State Fullerton in 2011. Well, a bellow. Bogarts at short. He has no play. An infield hit that loads the bases.
Infielders have to keep that ball in the infield. If they don't, it's another run for the Blue Jays. Here comes Munenori Kawasaki, is going to pitch run now for Colabello. And that's going to take Ramirez out of this ball game.
The 2 walks were the undoing of Noe Ramirez. Ramirez walked Donaldson and Bautista. Gene Machi into the game for the Red Sox to face Russell Martin with the bases loaded and nobody out. At first and second and gets sawed off. But the ball gets into left.
And that was a break, I think, for the Blue Jays, because getting sawed off, breaking his bat like that, the ball softened its way into the outfield, and that allowed Donaldson to come around, hard charging around third base to score that run. The crowd is digging this right here. They're hoping for the ball to get into the outfield. It does. Well, watch when he touches the plate.
$47,415 here at Rogers Center. The Blue Jays have taken the lead in the bottom of the 8th. Munenori Kawasaki pinch running for Colabello at first. The bases are loaded for Russell Martin.
And this is Gene Machi right here. His numbers with San Francisco and Boston. Fastball, slider, splitter. He'll get a lot of ground balls and strikeouts with that splitter. You got to make him get that ball up.
Bases loaded, nobody out. The infield is drawn in. The Blue Jays lead it 3-2. Martin fouls off the first pitch. Russell Martin with 20 home runs and 68 RBIs. 20 home runs, one off his career high.
I'll take a double down the left field line.
Ooh, close.
Close. Infield is in. And that makes the ball on the ground. They're going to come home. But it makes the hitter a little bit more dangerous. You can get that ball, you can roll it through the infield a little quicker.
Martin strikes out. That's the first out of the inning.
Well, that's why they brought Machi in right here, because he's got that splitter. You can get some strikeouts or some ground balls with it. What you have to do is you got to be patient. I don't think you can have that long swing. You got to shorten it up. You can see how he sets that ball in his fingers while he is looking in for the sign.
Kevin Pillar has hit well against Boston all season long. The safety squeeze was on. He fouls it off. Even with the infield playing in and the bases loaded, the force is in play, but it's all about timing. Bautista was not crashing from third.
He was watching the ball to see if it was down, and it was fouled off. Again, the infield in. They cannot afford to try and go around the horn at second base for a double play. They're going to come home.
Base hit. That's going to drop. That's going to score a run. Bautista's coming in. They stop in front of Show. And Pillar has added to the Blue Jays lead. Bautista scores from third. Encarnacion was headed around third. He wanted to score, but he was stopped.
You know what he did is he read that ball perfectly. Edwin's a very good base runner. Very good base runner. And he read that that ball was going to be down. Watch him at second base. Right off the bat, he takes off. He knows that's a single. But Louis Rivera, he respects the arm of Betts, the right fielder. Mookie's got 9 assists. And it would have been close.
That's the 25th hit for Pillar against the Red Sox. Encarnacion is out of the game. Dalton Pompey, the pinch runner at third.
Just a little bit more speed. I think what John Gibbons is thinking about right here, if there is a short fly ball, he'd rather have the faster runner at third base to try and get that extra run. So he puts in Dalton Pompey. There is Dalton. And that's going to bring Torey Lovullo back out on the field.
Interesting. They've got a lefty now warm. They delayed to allow Tommy Lane to get loose, and Lovullo now makes the call for the lefty. Ryan Goins walked against Wade Miley in the 5th. He's 0 for 2 this afternoon. Blue Jays have a 4-2 lead in the 8th. Tommy Lane on to face Goins. New pitcher is Tommy Lane, making his 58th appearance. There's 1 out, the bases are loaded, and the hitter is Ryan Goins.
Look at the difference in his splits. Righties are hitting 329, lefties just 150. He's got a good fastball. He gets a lot of swings and misses with that breaking ball. He's allowed only 2 hits in his last 26 at bats to left-handed batters. So Ryan Goins is going to be in tough against Lane. Bases loaded. He's going to really have to stay on that breaking ball from Lane.
Pompey at 3rd, Kawasaki at 2nd, and Pilar at 1st. The bases loaded, 1 out. Ground ball. They're going to come home. They'll get 1 back to 1st. A double play. A 4-2-3 double play. Lane gets out of it, but the Blue Jays score 2 in the bottom of the 8th to take a 4-2 lead. Osuna back out. Two lead. We'll go to the 9th. Brock Holt got it started in the 7th with a leadoff double. He scored the tying run at that time. Justin Smoke takes over defensively at first base for Chris Colabello, who was lifted in favor of the pinch runner. Osuna came into the ball game with 2 outs and a man aboard in the 8th and got Rusney Castillo to pop out. Brock Holt had a leadoff double in the 7th. Osuna ahead 0-2. Mark Lowe, Brett Cecil, Roberto Osuna out of the bullpen. R.A. Dickey started. He pitched into the 7th. He left with a 2-1 lead. Mark Lowe gave up a infield double to Jackie Bradley Jr. to allow the Sox to tie it up. There have been questions all season long whether or not Osuna, as a 20-year-old, could close for a contending ball club.
And I think it's taken all season long to show that he can do that. I mean, we have been around him for 6 months, and we know all about this kid. He can handle it.
Foul tip hit the ground, according to Dan Iasonia.
I think Gibby is wondering here, was that ball foul tipped at all? Was it fouled at all? It's a changeup. Watch how that ball goes down. And I don't think he touched it. No argument from Russell Martin. It obviously hit the ground.
1 ball, 2 strikes to Brock Holt. Now it's 2-2. This is the 6th game Osuna has pitched against the Red Sox. Blake Swihart, switch hitting catcher, is on deck. Fly ball to left field, and that's going to get down again. Same spot for Brock Holt. Identical to what he did in the 7th, a leadoff double. Man at second, nobody out. Now for a preview of what's coming up on Sportsnet Central, here's Martine Gaillard. Thank you very much, Martine. That's coming up right after this ball game. But Boston Red Sox, they want to delay that a bit. They get the leadoff man here in the 9th. Brock Holt led off with a double in the 7th off R.A. Dickey, and he came around to score the tying run that tied it at 2-all. Swihart 1 for 3. Bounced in the dirt. Osuna, after the All-Star break, has turned it up a notch. He's held the opponents to a 160 average second half of the season.
Stay with that heater. He's got a great one. The runner at second base doesn't mean anything. The guy he's got to concentrate on is the guy at the plate.
Swihart, Bradley Jr. is on deck, and then Mookie Betts. 2-2. Strike 3 call. Swihart thought it was low. Sonia rings him up. First out, top of the ninth.
Osuna has that ability to ride that fastball and it stays on line. Russell Martin does a good job of framing that one up, but it stays on line and rides to the lower part of the strike zone for the first out.
Jackie Bradley Jr. '97 blew it by him. Strike 2. Aaron Sanchez loosening up just in case. Look out. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
It's like he might have overthrown those last 2 pitches trying to get the strikeouts. This one is 98 and it's up.
Swinging a drive deep to right. Bautista will watch this one go into the second deck. And Jackie Bradley Jr. has hit a 2-run game-tying home run with 1 out in the ninth.
Tell you, he's been hitting everything. They certainly did that back at Fenway Park when the Blue Jays were there. He challenged him one more time with a fastball. Jackie Bradley got a hold of that one right there, right down the middle. They wanted to get that ball up just a little bit more, and he crushes that ball to right field for his 9th homer.
Jackie Bradley Jr. with 3 of the 4 runs driven in. Mookie Betts takes a first pitch strike.
Watch the reaction from Osuna. He knows it. I missed my spot. And the good hitters.
Brock Holt.
That's the guy.
He had another big hit for his 2nd straight at bat. He had a leadoff double, and that put Osuna in a jam.
He is one tough guy. What it did is it brought the tying run to the plate, where every pitch was important.
Jackie Bradley Jr. with that double in the 7th knocked home Brock Holt. And that ground ball double snapped an 0 for 21 for Jackie Bradley Jr. Three and 2. Dustin Pedroia has gone 1 for 4, had a triple in his first at bat. Up the middle, Pennington there in time. Smoke maintained contact with the bag. Pennington's throw was wide of the mark, but Justin Smoke just into the game defensively saves him.
And luckily it was to his glove side, where Justin just has to reach down to make that play. Right-handed first baseman, that would have been a tougher play, but he stays engaged with the bag to record that second out.
2 outs, Dustin Pedroia. They've worked Pedroia away with fastballs and hard sliders.
Yeah, you think you can get in on him, and he's quick, fast on the inner half.
He can handle anybody's fastball inside
and up. He's one of the best high ball hitters in baseball.
Staying away. Xander Bogaerts is on deck. Bogaerts has homered this afternoon. He drove in the first run of the ball game. Pedroia takes ball 4. John Gibbons going to make the call. So they will flip roles here today. Osuna trying to close out the 9th will give way to Aaron Sanchez, who will try to close out this inning. It's a 4-4 game. Osuna out, Sanchez in. Finished the 8th. He got Castillo and then gave up a leadoff double. Got Swihart on strike 3 and then gave up the 2-run home run to Jackie Bradley Jr. He's out of the game with 2 outs here in the top of the 9th. And Aaron Sanchez trying to pick him up.
Yeah, they're thinking about, hey, we might need Osuna tomorrow. I think he threw something like 29 pitches this afternoon, 30 pitches. So Aaron Sanchez trying to pick up his buddy right here, looking for that elusive 3rd out of the 9th inning. 34 games this year for Aaron, 76 with a 307 earned run average. He will face the best that the Red Sox have to offer.
Xander Bogaerts. He had off to a rough start, couple of strikeouts against Dickey, and then he homered in the 6th for the first run of the ball game. Pedroia at first, 2 outs. Sanchez delivers a first pitch strike. 1-1. Xander Bogaerts is 0 for 9 against Aaron Sanchez. Stick to the plan. Base hit. Pedroia. He's going to stop at second. Bautista unloads quickly to Goins, who cuts it off. And now things get very dicey.
Xander Bogaerts can hit a high pitch. We talked about that earlier. He's at 360 on a high pitch. Look how he just drops the barrel of the bat on that ball. Just uses his hands to shoot that ball the other way. He is 8th in all of baseball in batting average on pitches high like that. It's a good approach right there.
Bogaerts has 2 hits this afternoon. He has 178 hits for the season. It's just one behind Jose Altuve, the leader in the American League. So David Ortiz, he's 0 for 4. Brett Cecil struck him out in the 8th. 2 outs. A lot of the young Blue Jays players going through a pennant race for their first time. Two and 0. The Yankees beat the Mets 5-0 this afternoon at Citi Field in New York. Ortiz taking all the way. Interesting.
Yeah. One of the best power hitters of this generation right here. Surprised that he was going to take a 2-0 fastball. He has put up crazy numbers in this ballpark.
Line drive. That's going to drop in front of Revere. Pedroia's around third. Here's the throw to the plate. Not in time. The Red Sox have taken the lead. David Ortiz has just become the all-time RBI leader against the Blue Jays. He was tied with Alex Rodriguez. A go-ahead base hit here in the ninth.
One of the best clutch hitters I think the Red Sox have ever had. He comes up in tight situations, and it seems like he always comes through. Slices this ball to left field. Revere does everything he can, but the throw is offline just a little bit. Pedroia is able to get in with that slide. You can see he's trying to avoid the tag, and then he comes back and touches the plate with his left hand. And the Red Sox have rallied for 3 runs here in the ninth.
Pedroia drew the 2-out walk. He scores the go-ahead run. Ortiz, that's RBI number 98 for the season. He's had 8 100 RBI seasons with Boston. Russell Martin has it bounce away from him, and Bogaerts comes in to score. A wild pitch.
Looked like he tried to overthrow that curveball, and he's going to bounce it. Russell gets over there. It looks like he had it, but it bounced off the chest protector. And another run's going to score. Now we're going to have another pinch runner.
Devin Marrero will come in and run for David Ortiz at second base. Marrero's an infielder. Ortiz, the DH, out of the ball game. 4 runs for Boston here in the ninth. They're going to put Shaw on. It was a 2-0 count, so they will walk him. Boston took 2 of 3 from the Blue Jays the last time they played at Fenway. Pete Walker checking on the status of the bullpen. Marrero at second, Shaw at first. Rusney Castillo for 3 with a walk. Jackie Bradley Jr. tied it up with a 2-run homer. David Ortiz put the Red Sox ahead with an RBI single to left. And Xander Bogaerts scored on a wild pitch. It's a 4-run 9th inning for Boston.
Boy, what a difference when you get that first batter of an inning. You know, it's Brock Holt who comes out, who's been a thorn in the side of the Blue Jays now for a couple of seasons. That's the last guy I want to see coming up leading off an inning. He has good at bats, and he just drove another double to left field to start this whole rally for Boston.
2-1, base hit up the middle. Marrero's around third. He's going to score. It's a 5-run inning for the Red Sox. They've had a bat-around inning here in the 9th, and John Gibbons will go to the pen. Five runs on 5 hits. The Red Sox have taken a 7-4 lead. While we have a moment, let's check in with Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn. He has already been charged with 2 earned runs. The runners at first and second are his responsibility. And for the first time in a long time, these 2 youngsters back into the bullpen haven't been able to close out this game.
They got flipped just a little bit. Osuna pitched before Sanchez, and now Ryan Tepera is in to try and stop the bleeding right here. 26 games for Tepera, an 0-1 record, 279 earned run average. Looking to get it out. He will face the guy who started this whole thing. I think the key to this inning.
Brock Holt doubled in his last 2 at-bats. To give you an idea how unusual this is, the Blue Jays were 73-0 when leading after 8 coming into this game. The Red Sox were 0-65 when trailing after 8. 2 outs. Tepera Ball and the strike to Brock Holt. Fly ball, shallow center. This should end the inning. Pilar is there, and the inning is over. But the Red Sox break out with 5 runs in the 9th inning. Dustin Pedroia starts it all, got a walk, and that led to the 5-run inning.
$54.99 a month. Modem rental or purchase required. Ask about our other plans that deliver the fastest internet speeds to the most Canadians. Call 1-888-ROGERS-1 today. Buck?
Thank you, Barry. We are in the bottom of the 9th. The new pitcher is the lefty Robbie Ross Jr. He takes over. The Red Sox have a 3-run lead. This is a save opportunity for Robbie Ross Jr.
He's done a good job for the Red Sox. There are his numbers this year. He's got a sneaky fastball and a late breaking ball. They have had a lot of problems at the back end of that bullpen, the Boston Red Sox.
Koji Uehara is out for the season with a broken wrist. They've shut down Junichi Tozawa for the season. Those were the back end guys. Uehara was the closer. Tozawa was the setup man. Uehara 25 saves in 27 attempts. Ross ahead 1-2. Tozawa has been shut down as well. He had another fine season. He pitches well against everybody but the Blue Jays.
That's right. So he is down with some fatigue and trying to find a guy to finish it off. It looks like Ross might be the guy.
It's a little flare to left field. Castillo gets over and makes the catch. 1 down. Well, the Blue Jays scored 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th to take a 4-2 lead, and the Red Sox stormed back. R.A. Dickey with another good start left the ball game with the lead at 2-1 after pitching into the 7th, but the bullpen couldn't hold it. Ben Revere's had a 2-hit day. The Blue Jays have only had 6 hits. The Red Sox have scored 7 runs on 13 hits. The Blue Jays 4 runs on just 6 hits. Bouncing ball, big hop for Pedroia. 2 down.
Over the last month and a half or so, the Red Sox offense, they lead the major leagues in batting average. Just under 300 as a team and scoring a lot of runs, so they can play, and they are playing good baseball right now. And you and I were talking about it earlier in the game that these teams, they don't want to see the Blue Jays celebrate against them.
Not at all. With a win today, the Red Sox would even the season series at 9-9. That's how tight these two teams have played it all season long. You talk about how difficult it is for a team to win for the first time. The Blue Jays in danger of losing a game to the Yankees. New York beat the Mets earlier this afternoon 5-0. They will finish up their series tomorrow night. Donaldson takes ball 4. He walks for a third time. Hey, you never know, but the big deal is Edwin Encarnacion was lifted for a pinch runner in the 8th. Dalton Pompey is in his spot behind Bautista. Bautista drills it deep to center. This ball is gone. The Blue Jays not done yet.
Home run number 36 for Jose. Second run scored this afternoon. He was waiting for that fastball.
Second home run of the day for the Blue Jays for Bautista, his 36th.
Well, that's why every run is so important. You score that run. Blue Jays left a couple of runners on last inning and then couldn't stop the bleeding last inning because of this. First pitch swinging Bautista deep to left center field for the home run to pull the Blue Jays to within 1.
The offense has been consistent all season long. The bullpen has been great the second half of the season, the best in the American League. Now the offense will try to pick them up. Matt Haig will pinch hit for Dalton Pompey, who entered as a pinch runner. Haig was the International League Player of the Year in AAA Buffalo. Position.
He came oh so close, taking this curveball off the wall in center field. He's watching it all the way. It's a double. He had thoughts of maybe going to third. But you don't want to get thrown out there. Jackie Bradley Jr. back, and it's over his head for extra bases. And he'll be lifted for a pinch runner.
Matt Haig hit .338 in AAA Buffalo with 33 doubles. Ezequiel Carrera represents the tying run. Justin Smoke batting right-handed. They came on defensively in the top of the ninth. Smoke 2 for 4 in last night's game. Ground ball. Pedroia at second. That's the ball game. Well, the Blue Jays rallied for 2 in the ninth, but they fall short and lose to Boston 7-6. The Red Sox pounding out 13 hits. They've split the first 2 games of this 3-game series.
And if you're the Blue Jays, you got a quick turnaround. You got the day game tomorrow. You got to forget about this one. This was a tough one right here. They had the game. They lost it late. You got to forget about it. You got to get ready for tomorrow. Tomorrow brings another day as the Blue Jays lose a game to the standings to the Yankees.
The Blue Jays have a 3.5-game lead over the New York Yankees. We'll be back at it tomorrow afternoon. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Here's Sportsnet Central. Martine Geyer.